Hello and welcome to Odds on Bundesliga, match day 22, and it's not a normal weekend because we have Leverkusen Bayern Munich. The title can be decided if Leverkusen cannot win this game, Ronan, because I think 8 points gap coming into the 23rd match day should be enough for Harry Kane to finally lift a trophy.
Yeah, so is it going to be the end of the Harry Kane hoodoo? Is it the end of the Kane curse finally in Munich? It looks like it will be. You think even if they were able to close the gap a bit, Bayern Munich might be strong enough against every other team in the Bundesliga. Perhaps not Bayer Leverkusen, but even if they lose this, the title is still Bayern Munich's to lose. So yeah, this could be if they lose at the weekend. If Bayern Munich lose at the weekend, maybe the Harry Kane curse might return.
I don't think so. The title is in their hands. Imagine 1.04 is the highest odds, for Bayern Munich to lift that trophy according to our website. So guys, let's analyze everything we have ahead in this weekend in Germany, especially, of course, Leverkusen, Bayern Munich. Press the like, subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. And the first game on Friday, we have Augsburg, RB Leipzig. Shouldn't be an easy game for Leipzig. Still favorites, of course, back in the fourth spot after beating Pauli 2-0 at home. The usual suspects, Sesko and Simons scoring. But as I said, Augsburg is a tough team to beat. Ronan, undefeated in the last 5, 3 wins and 2 draws.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting match. RB Leipzig, it's always tricky for them to go to some of these away teams, and especially a team who kind of been performing perhaps above expectations. I think it was last week you mentioned of the show that Augsburg fans will be happy enough to have a season like this where they're not in a relegation battle and maybe have an outside chance of Europe. So this is a match that Leipzig could find problems in, but Augsburg in the last couple of games they've been finding it hard to score matches. They've only scored 1 goal recently, so in the last 3 games. So it is kind of, they're going through maybe a difficult spell at the moment, and that should play into Leipzig's hands. 𝗲𝗏𝗏 is obviously suspended for Leipzig after that Pauli match you mentioned. It was 2-0 to Leipzig, but they did suffer that red card, and he is a big figure. He is kind of one of the leaders on the pitch, and we know the way Leipzig are. They like to bring in young players. They like to develop these young players, sell them on for a big profit. And there are kind of only a few players dotted around the squad that have been there a while, have been kind of leader figures on and off the field, and 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 is one of those. And he puts in good performances too. Obviously, he's not just there because he's an old guy. He's there because he is a very capable defender, and he will be a big loss for Leipzig. But I think Augsburg at the moment, they have been struggling to score goals kind of all season. They're only scoring 1.1 goals per game. So this could be a tricky one for Augsburg to get too many goals or too many shots on target, because Leipzig, they've had clean sheets in both of the last 2 games. Obviously, they had a 2-0 win, and before that, they didn't concede either in the 0-0 draw before that. So Leipzig, their defence is improving. Even without 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, they should be able to kind of restrict Augsburg to few chances here. So Augsburg under 1.5 goals, I like to look up. That's under 1.5 goals for exactly 1.5. It's nice and round, that figure. But yeah, I think this one, it's a Friday night fixture. Leipzig tend to do well in the Friday night fixtures, despite the fact that they're usually hated when they're go to away matches, but they usually tend to do well in Friday night fixtures. So I like the look of a Leipzig win 2-14 here in this one.
Okay, let's see if Leipzig are able to win back-to-back games. Also a tough season for them, still fighting with Stuttgart to qualify for the next Champions League. On Saturday, first game is Pauli, Freiburg. Freiburg fighting for the European spots. They are 6 after beating Heidenheim and Bochum. Only 1-0, so I kind of expect a low-scoring affair here, Ronan. Pauli 7 points away from the bottom three, and somehow they are favorites for this game, even if their home form in general has not been great this season.
Yeah, I suppose you probably look back to the match they played against each other earlier this season. It was a 3-0 win for St. Pauli in September, and that was their first win in the Bundesliga this season. So maybe the bookies are expecting more of the same. But at home, St. Pauli, like you said, they aren't a team that play out thrillers. They've had 10 home games in the league this season, just 7 goals scored, 11 against. So they are not a team that is very entertaining at home. They're 16th in the home table. Only 9 of their 21 points have actually come at the Millern Stadium, so they aren't very good at home. They're not that great away, to be honest, but they're very not good at home. The average goals here, like you said, is I'm not expecting a huge one. 0.9 goals for St. Pauli, 1.3 goals for Freiburg. These teams have not been scoring lots of goals all season. Usually we go for total goals over on the show, but this week we're going for total goals under 2.25. It looks good at 193. Because over 2.5 goals has happened just 39% of the time in St. Pauli's games this season. So it's more than likely that it's not going to happen. So under 2.25 goals for 193 looks pretty good. Freiburg, they're on 2 wins in a row, both 1-0 wins against Bochum away and then Heidenheim at home. Could they do the same again here? Quite possibly. So correct score 1-0 to Freiburg could be another option. That's 8.60. That's one of the many big tips I'm going to tip for today's show. Obviously, don't put too much money on it if you are considering going out on a limb for a correct score bet. Never put too much money on a correct score bet. Shadrach with his first half draw could be very much right. It could be one of these where it's a draw at halftime and maybe Freiburg can sneak a win in the second half. So I'm going for Freiburg draw no bet as my main bet in this one, 204.
Much more interesting, in my opinion, is Stuttgart-Wolfsburg. We have Stuttgart 5th, only 1 point behind the RB Leipzig after their great win in Dortmund, and they also won at the Pokal. So let's see if they are able to win against Wolfsburg, the team that was able to stop Leverkusen and Frankfurt recently. Although they are winless in the last 4, but still with these 2 really good results.
Yeah, there should be an entertaining match. Hopefully, the only kind of doubt for Stuttgart is Dennis 𝗀𝗏. He's ill at the moment. There's been a bit of an illness in the Stuttgart camp, so hopefully he recovers in time for the weekend. He picked it up early, so if the doctors can give him the medicine in time, he hopefully will recover for this, and then that should turn this into a more entertaining match because he is a key part of Stuttgart's attack. He provides the goals for them, obviously, and provides a lot of goals. So the games this season and last season have all had, between these two teams, have all had 4 or more goals. Both teams to score yes in them all. These are 2 teams that tend to score lots of goals. Wolfsburg are averaging 2 goals per game this season, and Stuttgart just slightly below 1.9. So both teams to score yes is coming up on the screen, 158. It's a good bet, I think. Both teams to score yes tends to be a good bet in the Bundesliga. It's happened 64% of the time for Stuttgart, and over 2/3 of the time at 67% of the time for Wolfsburg. So both teams to score yes looks like a good option. Total goals over 3, obviously tying into the fact that these teams tend to play high scoring matches. That's also another good one. That's a bit more value there at 188 instead of 158 for the both teams to score yes. If you think there could be goals in this, which I do, and Stuttgart's goals hopefully will be coming through Dennis 𝗀𝗏. But Wolfsburg have depended a lot on Mohamed Aboura this season. In attack, he's averaging 2.99 shots per 90 minutes, so almost 3 shots per 90 minutes. He's averaging 1.15 shots on target per 90 minutes, and hopefully in this match he can get 1 shot or more on target, because that's my main tip here. Mohamed Aboura over a half a shot on target, 173.
Shadrach is going for Stuttgart to win 2-0. Wolfsburg 3 points away from European spots. Stuttgart right now in Europa League, or who knows, perhaps also the 5th spot can give access to the Champions League at the end of the season. Next one is Union Berlin-Gladbach. Berlin this season, they are not going to suffer to stay again in the Bundesliga. Great win against Hoffenheim, so they are 10 points away from the bottom 3 and absolutely safe. Gladbach, on the other hand, with good results lately, trying to climb until the European spots.
Yeah, Union Berlin, what a result for them last week, 4-0 win. And I don't think anyone was expecting that, least of all me on the show last week. And the results in recent games have been wild. A 3-0 loss, a 0-0 draw, and then a 4-0 win. So both teams to score no seems to happen, but anything else could happen in their matches. So Gladbach, it was a 1-0 win for them earlier this season. It was 0-0 in Mönchengladbach last season too. So they are kind of following that trend that it could be both teams to score no, but so anybody could win in this. Christopher Trimmel is suspended for Union Berlin. He will be a loss for them because, like Willi Orban, I was saying, for Leipzig, he is one of these key senior figures in the squad. So he will be a loss for them. So I think Gladbach, they're on a good run of form, like you said. They've beaten Bochum and Stuttgart in their last 3 games, drawn with Frankfurt in that time as well. So that's an impressive result for them. And like we talked about on the show in last week or the week before, I think it was, the 3 defeats to start the year were all against difficult teams, Bayern, Wolfsburg and Leverkusen. So Gladbach, I think, are a team that are capable of more than beating Union Berlin on any day, on home or away. So 3-10 looks really appetizing. The Gladbach win that we're seeing there, 3-10 looks really appetizing, but I would maybe play it a slight bit safer if you don't want to go all out for Gladbach win. Gladbach Asian handicap 0-222 looks pretty good.
Let's go to the next one. Is Bochum Dortmund. After the exhibition in Lisbon, it's very difficult not to back Dortmund with these odds, 1.75 right now in 1xBet. Great win, so they are going to be in the last 16 round of the Champions League, but 𝐻𝐞𝐭'𝐬 is looking also for his first win in the Bundesliga with Dortmund after losing to Stuttgart. And remember that this season already Dortmund lost to Kiel, the other team that looks doomed in this Bundesliga. Ronan, as we predicted, also the draw between Kiel and Bochum was almost written all over it.
Yeah, we were I think millimeters away from getting that one right, but it's been hard to predict Borussia Dortmund, apart from usually both teams to score in their matches. But I'm not sure this one is going to be a both teams to score yes game for them. Luckily for Borussia Dortmund, because they have had their defensive problems at times this season. But 𝐻𝐞𝐿, I think he's trying to build from the back and make them better defensively. If you had a look at the Sporting match in the Champions League on Tuesday, the way they've been bringing the ball out looked much better, I think, than how they performed against Stuttgart. You can see that there's a kind of a 𝐻𝐞𝐿 identity coming to the team. He's trying to use the wings. He's trying to spread the ball out wide and then get the fullbacks to bring the ball forward and maybe play through the quick attacking wingers that they have. And that seemed to work. It's worked especially well against Sporting. So there's no reason to think that it can't work especially well against the worst team in the Bundesliga. And the worst team in the Bundesliga have one of the top scorers of 2025 in 𝐬𝐿𝐴𝐷𝗀, who has 5 goals in 4 Bundesliga games in the second half of the season. But he's injured. He has a thigh injury for this one. So he has as many goals as Harry Kane and since the second half of the season started. So he will be a big loss for them. And you wonder, without him, where their goals going to come from. Maxi Wittek is missing out too for Bochum. Opta is another one. Opta has given Borussia Dortmund just a 5.1% chance of making the Champions League this season. It was 78.4% before the season started, so now that's down to 5.1%. So if they are to have any chance of making the top 4, they need to win games like this. They need to put in confident performances, comfortable performances in games like this. Bochum this season have been a team that have lost to nil a few times already. They've only had both teams to score yes in 45% of their games. They've lost to nil 3 times already in 2025. Dortmund win looks good, like you said, 175. But can Dortmund do the unthinkable? I think they can. So I'm going to go for it. They've already done it once this week by beating Sporting 3-0 on Tuesday. The first of many wins for 𝐻𝐞𝐿. Can he win 2 matches in a row to nil? Something that would be unthinkable for Borussia Dortmund, that they could win and keep a clean sheet. So that's what I'm going for. This is going to be a wild tip. So maybe just play it safe and go for Borussia Dortmund to win. But I am passionate for Borussia Dortmund to win to nil this weekend.
It looks like they are gonna do their European campaign as last season and forget about the about the Bundesliga. So who knows also how this game is gonna develop. James bet on Bochum to draw last week. That was a really good idea, as we said in this show. And both teams to score. The other option, the opposite option, actually. For this game, let's move to the great game of the games. Leverkusen, Bayern Munich. Leverkusen now 8 points away from Bayern Munich after another draw, this time against Wolfsburg. 7 draws this season. This is why Leverkusen are so far away from Bayern Munich. And remember also that they struggle a lot in the cup to beat Cologne before this. Bayern in the middle of the tie with Celtic. We don't know what they are doing since they played on Wednesday. But they have the Bundesliga in their hands. Ronan, 7 consecutive Bundesliga wins. And, well, this season already lost to Leverkusen in the Pokal. How do you see this one? No, our eyes usually go for goals, of course, having these two teams in the pitch.
Yep, and that is the way we're going to go. We're going to go for goals, I think, in this one, because it's hard to back either team in this. It's hard to trust Bayern Munich to beat Leverkusen, because we've seen what's happened already twice this season. They failed to beat them in the league. It was 1-1, and then they got knocked out of the cup by Bayer Leverkusen. But Bayer Leverkusen equally, in matches that you think that they should be winning, they've been drawing. Just like last weekend, Xabi Alonso made 8 changes for that game against Wolfsburg, and were unable to draw 0-0. So will he kind of do the same again and make these sort of mistakes? Obviously, a 0-0 is not a defeat for Bayer Leverkusen, so he was able to equal the longest unbeaten away run in Bundesliga history, 27 games, 20 wins, 7 draws. But he needs to turn these draws into wins, and that's why they won the Bundesliga last season, because that's what they were able to do. They were able to come up with all these goals in the 95th minute, the 97th minute, the 103rd minute at one stage. So this is a team that were able to kind of be ruthless in games where they needed to, but this season they've had too many draws, and that's why there's such a discrepancy at the moment between them and Bayern Munich. So they need to turn this match into a win to have any chance of being in the Bundesliga title race, because if they lose here, it's dead. Like you said at the start of the show, they need to get their strikers firing. Patrick Schick and Victor Boniface need to obviously get among the goals. Schick is having an excellent season. He's kind of keeping Boniface out of the team at times. He's only the 4th Leverkusen player in history to have 2 seasons at the club where he scored 20 or more goals in the season. So Harry Kane equally is setting his own records in the Bundesliga. He's the first player in 25 years to score 9 penalties in the Bundesliga season. So he's getting a lot of penalties. The record is 10. There's no reason to think that between now and the end of the season he won't score 2 more penalties to break that record. But interestingly enough, the last player to score 9 penalties in the Bundesliga 25 years ago, in 1999-2000, was Hamburg goalkeeper Hans-Jörg Butt. That's one to look up on YouTube later if you want to see the goalkeeping penalty expert from the Bundesliga from 25 years ago. I think that's an interesting story. So Harry Kane is the first since him. I wonder, can he play in goal himself? Florian Wirtz is a doubt for Bayer Leverkusen in this one. He picked up an injury in training on Tuesday. He was forced to kind of exit training early, so keep an eye on his fitness as the week goes on and whether he'll be fit enough to start, because he kind of looked a bit tired against Cologne, playing 120 minutes for Leverkusen, so he was rested in that game against Wolfsburg. And the Bayer Leverkusen are just not as good attacking wise, and kind of sometimes they lack his technical ability or his kind of ability to change games when Wirtz isn't there. So yeah, this could be an interesting one for goals. The goals market is where we have to obviously look. You have to think that these sides are capable of scoring goals regardless of who's on the pitch. So over 3 goals at 2.01 looks pretty good, because the average goals of these two teams are 2.3 for Bayer Leverkusen and 3.1 for Bayern Munich. So between them, they're averaging 5 goals a game. So we should be able to get over 3 goals in this one, hopefully. Hopefully it doesn't turn into one of these boring 0-0 matches that everybody's hyped up for a long time, but I doubt it. So if you do go for over 3 goals, make sure if it's exactly 3 that you're going to get your money back. These teams, neither of them have lost in the domestic league this year. Leverkusen only one defeat so far in 2025. That was to Atletico Madrid. Bayern Munich the same. Obviously, before Celtic on Wednesday night, we haven't seen that result yet. Maybe they'll lose 5-0 there. Who knows? Hopefully not for our Champions League tips.
Imagine what a surprise.
hopefully not for our Champions League tips, because we didn't go for that one. But Alain went for some goals in that game, so he mightn't be too disappointed by it. But yeah, Bayern similarly, they've only lost once this year, and that was in Europe. It wasn't domestically. It was to Feyenoord in the Champions League. So yeah, Leverkusen double chance could be another option here. 174. So at least gives you the chance that maybe Bayern won't win this one. But yeah, the goals market is where I'm looking, and because Leverkusen have been scoring goals, Patrick Schick has been scoring goals, and if Florian Wirtz is fit, I think the way to go to get some money from this one might be Leverkusen over 1.5 goals. That's 230.
Well, perhaps now Bayern Munich might think that they were the unlucky ones in the Champions League draw, getting Celtic instead of Man City after seeing the mistakes by Guardiola's men yesterday. Well, Kane to score a penalty could be a good idea, and of course both teams to score is on the cards in this great game, regardless of the result. It looks like Bayern Munich are gonna conquer the Bundesliga again, the first one for Vincent Kompany, but well, let's see. Worse things have happened recently in the Bundesliga, or if you don't believe so, we can ask Borussia Dortmund fans. 3 games left for Sunday. Werder Bremen Hoffenheim is the first one. Always high-scoring games with Hoffenheim involved, still in the relegation mix, 4 points above the bottom 3 after that heavy defeat that we mentioned against Union Berlin. Werder Bremen is only 1 win in the last 6. Super favorites here, perhaps 2 favorites.
Yeah, I think Hoffenheim's recent results would tell you that you shouldn't back them at all, and maybe I should have taken my own advice last week. But yeah, after the match, the managing director of sport, Andreas Schicker, came out and he kind of backed Christian 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐸. He said he'd be still in charge for this game, but he didn't really go any further and say that he'd be in charge for the rest of the season. And Christian 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐸 has been disappointing. If at the outset, you could say a lot more words for him, but Hoffenheim have already changed head coaches this season. So we spoke about it a few weeks ago that there was a possibility they could have a third different manager this season. And if things keep going the way they're going, it's hard to see why they wouldn't change manager again, because things haven't worked out for Christian 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐸. They're not working out at all. 4-0 against Union Berlin is a diabolical result. So if similar happens here against Bremen, expect them to be down the job centre on Monday morning after this one, looking for a new job. This is usually an entertaining match, usually a high-scoring match. Both teams to score yes has happened in each of the last 5 times they've played each other. There's been 3 or more goals in each of the last 5 times they've played each other. Bremen have scored 2 or more goals already 4 times this season. So Hoffenheim, similarly, they've conceded 2 or more goals in the past 5 games and 3 or more in the past 3 games. So Bremen over 2 goals is a good option to go for in this one, because Hoffenheim's defense is just leaking everything at the moment. So Bremen over 2 goals is 220. Both teams to score yes and a Bremen win could be another option, because Bremen are also capable of conceding goals. So that's 320 if you want to combine that. But perhaps a little bit safer is just a Bremen win, 195. Because Hoffenheim are terrible.
Yep. Indeed, as Kramaric said a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Next game, Frankfurt Kiel, a step backwards for Kiel, that draw against Bochum that we mentioned, but they are only 1 point away from Heidenheim. Also, they are so bad, Heidenheim. So the fight, I think, to stay in the Bundesliga is going to be until the end of the season. But this should be a Frankfurt win, Ronan, despite the last 3 draws for Frankfurt since Marmoush left.
You would think so, but I'm going to go and make an outrageous main tip for this one. So you'll have to wait and see that one. The only recent meeting between these two sides was a 4-2 win for Frankfurt in September. So these sides, as far as we know, they like scoring against each other. Frankfurt like scoring, they like conceding at the moment. They've had 3 score draws in a row in the Bundesliga. Kiel have had 2 2 all draws in their past 3 games. The other was a 4-3 defeat to Bayern Munich. So they like scoring, they like conceding, they like drawing matches too. Average goals 2.2 for Frankfurt, 1.6 for Kiel. Obviously that 2.2 was boosted by Marmouche scoring so many goals for Frankfurt, but they're still able to score without him. So it still should keep going because they have obviously brought in 𝗵𝗲𝗀 as well, and 𝗍𝐿𝐴 has been there, and he was scoring long before. He was scoring while Marmouche was there, while Marmouche was being linked away, keep scoring. So this is a match where you have to look at the goal market, where other people perhaps should look at the goal market for value, because average goals 2.2 to 1.6, total goals over 3.5 looks a good option, 207. Both teams to score yes is another option in this one. 66% of the time it's happened for Frankfurt. So that's 2/3 of the time that Frankfurt play. There's both teams to score yes, and nearly 3/4 of the time for Kiel, 74%. Both teams to score yes looks a good option in this one. But like I introduced this match, I'm going to go for something wild here. I think this match could be a draw. And the odds on a draw, last night when I looked at it, were 6.17, but now they're 6.40. For a draw in this one. And if you look at Frankfurt's last 3 results, all draws. 2 of Kiel's last 3 results, draws. So why not make it 4 from 4 and 3 from 4? So a draw, 6.40. We'll go. If you are going to bet on it, bet small, please.
Well, €5, you get 30. Not a bad investment indeed. This is a wild bet, but many times we see surprises, and it's good to try with a small stake. And the last game is Heidenheim Mainz. Heidenheim looks so bad, only 1 point away from Kiel and Bochum, and is only 1 win in the last 16 Bundesliga games, 4 consecutive defeats for them. Also Mainz going down and down as we expected in this second part of the season. Ronan, out of Europe, 1 win in the last 5.
Yeah, these are 2 teams kind of rough patches. The Heidenheim 5 games without a win in the Bundesliga, 3-3 draw against Bremen, and then they've been defeated by teams they shouldn't probably be defeated by, and teams they should. But yeah, Pauli, Augsburg, Dortmund, and Freiburg. We kind of expected more from Heidenheim after seeing them last season, but yeah, they kind of reverted to form, or they've been back to the Heidenheim that maybe we expected last season. The Mainz as well, they bounced back from a 1-0 defeat to Bremen with a 0-0 draw against Augsburg, so their results haven't been splendid either. Mainz's last 6 games, they've all been snooze fests, unfortunately. They all had 3 goals or fewer, and 5 of those 6 games have had 2 goals or fewer, so they haven't really been playing the most entertaining football. They haven't allowed the most entertaining football to be played against them. So this match could be, to end the week, a disappointing one, unfortunately. So total goals under 2.5 I'm looking at in this one. That's 198. Mainz win mightn't be a bad option. They've beaten Stuttgart and Bochum to 0 already in 2025. They had 3-0 wins to 0 in 2020 in the first half of the season in 2024. So 5 of their 9 wins this season have been wins to 0. So Mainz to win to 0 could be an option here. So I think this could be a nice 1-0 for us. So both teams to score no, perhaps is a bit safer if you rather than go for Mainz to win to 0. That's 2-10.
Well, not an exciting Sunday in the Bundesliga, we must admit. The best games are on Saturday. Well, guys, it's exciting to share this news, as we always do in our videos. The possibility to win €1,000 or dollars with Oddspedia, just participating in our tipster competitions. There you go. You can see the prize pool, and you can participate absolutely for free, or create your own tipster competition thanks to rivals, or join an existing one. There you go. There is a Champions League playoffs one, perhaps following our tips, who knows, and many other options. You can create the Bundesliga, for instance, one. Well, Ronan, safe bet?
My safe bet is Leverkusen and Bayern over 2.25 goals.
ACCA?
My ACCA, I'm going to go for 2 matches on Asian Handicap 0 and a win. So we're going for Gladbach Asian Handicap 0, like I mentioned earlier, and a Dortmund win for 386.
You are 𝐻𝐞𝐭'𝐬 fan, trusting him a lot in his new job.
They are against the worst team in the Bundesliga. You have to consider that.
Well, the last volcanic guy to be on the bench led the team to the Champions League final, like 𝐿𝐿, we trust. Thanks, Ronan. Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Bye-bye.